Welcome to the University of Kentucky Surgical Skills Lab. Two-handed knot tying. So the first thing you do is you take your two strings, okay? And when you start learning how to tie knots, obviously one of them doesn't have a needle on it, okay? So at some point you're going to have to transition from just tying two strings to tying one that's got a needle on it. But when you have two strings, your dominant hand should have the string crossed underneath.
Okay.
So make the X on the bottom, okay? Make an X with the dominant hand underneath, very important. Hold the string with 3 fingers and then make a C with your 2 fingers. Once you have a C, if it's in your forefinger, it's forehand. If it's your thumb, it's your backhand. Start with your forehand, go in the C, close it, flip, come back through, tie it down, flat knot. Backhand, make your C again. Now the string's over the thumb, bring it in the loop, close, rotate, back through, down. So all you're doing is you're making a C and you're flipping your hand back and forth. Over thumb, make a C, come in, flip it, back, forth, down. Make the C over my forefinger, come in the C, close my fingers, bring the thumb through, back. That. Finger, your forefinger, it's a forehand. It's over your thumb, it's your backhand. So you always start forehand. If you start with this cross underneath, and you do a forehand knot, you guarantee a flat knot. Now, flat knot's really important. If you don't cross and you throw a forehand knot, see how now the string comes down and it's not flat, okay?
Yeah.
So in this big chord, you can see now has air, okay? And when it has air, then you have to throw the second knot, and it's all jumbled, and then you have to put more force to get that air out to make your knot tight. That's when you break suture. When you do this, and you start with a forehand, start underneath, start the forehand, you hand it to yourself, and it naturally now has your finger to go down to point your knot. Okay? Then you come back, and it's a natural flow to do the backhand to lock it. And then start forehand again, then backhand. And so it just gives you a rhythm. When you start with your C loop, and this is over the top, it's over your forehand, okay? So just come in, grab it, put your finger through, hand it back, you got a forehand. This is not gonna be flat because I didn't cross my hands, see it? Now I do this, I'll cross my hands. Now I have the X's already there. Now I do the same move and I come down. That's flat. Now the question is, what do you want to do for your second knot? So for this nice basic, we're just throwing throws, I can throw a backhand to lock it, okay? The decision you got to make when you're doing this in the operating room or on tissue is, do you need a second throw that's the same to tighten it down? So if you're throwing something together that's got under tension and you want to throw a knot, and then you got to decide whether the second knot's going to be the same. You can throw a forehand the second time. This is not going to lock, but it will slide. See how it slid? So it slid and made it tighter. Then the third knot is the backhand knot to lock it. So a lot of people, as they start out, because they don't have the ability to keep this accessory string under tension, they'll throw the first knot twice so they can slide it down. So that's not a surgeon's knot. A surgeon's knot is something a little different. It's doing the first 2 knots together at the same time. So a surgeon's knot is you start here, do your forehand, and then do your forehand again. So that gives you a triple. It doesn't look, it looks a little uglier, but it's less likely to unravel as you throw your second knot. And that'll lock, but then that'll give you, so some people always throw a double throw the first time as their first to start. That is not a bad thing to do as you start. The hard part about that is when you have something that is delicate, when you throw that second knot, it actually can tear tissue.
Okay.
So as you're learning how to get control, it's not bad to learn one, first forward throw, second forward throw, slide, third, lock. Start crossed, throw 1, throw 2, that's down. I prefer 1, if something's under tension, I prefer 1, 2.
Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, because this actually, then I can control easier how much, how tight.
Okay.
I can tighten my finger.
Actually, how much
You don't
tension?
end up pouring through tissue.
You know, fun. So that's actually nicer for tissue, because you can
Okay.
control it. Okay?
Yep.
Now, one of the things they teach you when you do instrumentize is that when they teach you instrumentize, they tell you to throw a double throw in the first instrument tie. That is, that double throw is the equivalent
Is the double
of this. And that is because when you do instrument tie, you have to let go. And then pick up the loop. So that's the whole reason for the
Okay.
instrument, that's the whole reason for the double throw. Hand ties. Now, if you notice, there is actually something to be said about setting the stitch, setting the hand, if you hand, setting this to the right length, okay? So make it comfortable. Okay, that extra second, as opposed to trying to flow a whole bunch, pulling this stuff through, really makes your life easier, okay?
Yeah.
So setting this length over here to where it's comfortable, see, because their extra stitch over here doesn't matter. Okay, so I can set this now, I'm gonna look a lot cooler if I, now I'm crossed. I got my cross, it's underneath, come up, and now there's very little stitch to come through, looks very efficient, it looks very nice. I can throw the second one the same way, and then it will slide. Third one will lock.